Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hi, my name is Melissa Schulz, and I am located in California in the US, and this is my story. So I was 18 years old, working as a summer intern in a group home for teenage girls struggling with drug dependency. I had grown up a middle-class kid in the suburbs, 2 parents, still married, dinner at the table. Problems that felt big at that time, but were nothing like this. Suddenly, I was surrounded by girls almost my own age, whose life stories included abuse, prostitution, and gang involvement. It was like stepping into a different world. That building smelled like stale coffee and cigarettes. Doors slammed, voices echoed through the hallways. There was more yelling and chaos in those few months than I had experienced in my entire life combined. I stayed close to my supervisor. She was my anchor. If things escalated, she stepped in. I watched and learned and survived. Until the last week of the summer. All the supervisors left for a retreat, and I stayed alone with 6 deeply hurt, deeply angry teenagers. At some point that weekend, I asked one of the girls to do something. I don't even remember what. What I do remember was her face inches from mine, her voice sharp and threatening, and my supervisor being hundreds of miles away. My body shut down. My chest tightened, my heart raced, my mind screamed, what do I do? The only thing my training gave me in that moment was a single phrase: stay calm. That did not help. Not because I didn't want to stay calm, but because I didn't know how. And that is the problem with that advice. Stay calm is one of the most common things we tell parents, and it's one of the least effective. We all know we should stay calm. Sometimes we even can for a while, but eventually we snap and then we blame ourselves. But calm is not a choice, it's a state. And it's a state we can only access when our nervous system feels safe. Telling someone to stay calm when their system is overloaded is kind of like telling someone to relax while they're drowning. Most of us were not taught how to regulate our emotions. We were taught how to behave. We learn to look okay on the outside without learning how to feel okay on the inside. So when we had big feelings, we were told to stop crying and calm down. We learned to suppress instead of understand. And then we pass that same strategy on to our kids. Not because we're bad parents, but because it's what we were given. And the cost is enormous. Parents living in constant overwhelm, carrying so much guilt and shame, feeling like failures despite trying everything. And then their kids learning that their feelings are problems instead of signals. We're asking dysregulated adults to raise regulated children. And then we're blaming the parents when, of course, that doesn't work. So what if the problem is not that parents can't stay calm or that kids have bad behavior, but that we were never taught how to create that calm in the first place? That realization changed everything for me. I wish I could tell you I learned that lesson that first summer, but I did not. Instead, I spent the next 10 years working in intense behavioral environments with kids who had experienced deep trauma. On paper, I was very successful. I was respected. I was helping people, but my body was telling a different story. Migraines, chronic anxiety, constant tension, a nervous system that never shut off. But I told myself it was just part of the work, part of being strong, part of caring. And then life turned the volume all the way up. I had two kids under the age of 2, and at the same time, my husband was dealing with significant medical issues. Every coping strategy I had relied on collapsed because what I realized was this: I had not been actually handling or processing my emotions. I was ignoring them, suppressing them, just powering through. It was costing me everything. That was the moment I knew something had to change. I started on my own healing journey. I learned how to actually process my emotions instead of just pushing them down all the time. And that changed everything. I had so much more energy, more joy, more capacity. Looking back, I can see that the moment I froze at 18 was the first sign of a skill I never learned. It just took me 10 years and a lot of pain to finally learn it. And as this shift was happening internally, something else became obvious externally. I was raising my kids, my friends and family were all raising their kids, and I kept seeing the same pattern. We were treating our child's behavior like the problem. But behavior is more like a smoke alarm. It's loud, disruptive, overwhelming, but it's not the danger, it's the signal. You don't rip the smoke alarm out of the ceiling to stop the noise, you look for the fire. But this is the mistake we make with kids. A close friend of mine was totally overwhelmed by her child's behavior. She felt really angry and even hurt, like taking it personally what he was doing. But what was obvious to me was that her child wasn't being difficult. He was in distress. And when I shared that perspective with her, everything shifted. Her tone softened, her response to him totally changed. And so almost instantly, so did her child. And that was the moment it all clicked. Understanding behavior without understanding regulation is incomplete, because a smoke alarm can't turn off while that fire is still burning. And teaching parenting strategies without teaching parents how to regulate themselves will always fall short. That realization set me on a new path, helping parents to stop reacting to the alarm and helping them look for that fire underneath the behavior. And also helping parents create that internal capacity to create calm. So as all of this came together, I realized something really important. What was second nature to me with my professional background was actually brand new and incredibly relieving to most parents. Parents weren't missing effort. They were working so hard and trying their best, but they were missing a framework for understanding their child's challenging behaviors. This is what led me to create a process I call GUIDE. Because we can't force our kids' behavior to change, but we can guide them towards better behavior. We can't control their nervous system, but we can create conditions that make regulation and learning possible. I spent years trying to stay calm by force, and GUIDE is what I wish someone had given me instead. So the first step to the GUIDE process is gather data. So most parents come to me saying, "Oh, my child is out of control." But that's not data, that's distress. So what we do is we slow it down. We look for patterns. The second step is understanding your triggers, because you can't help your child regulate if your own nervous system is activated. The third step is investigating the cause. If the behavior is a smoke alarm, this is where we look for the fire: a missing skill, too much demand, overwhelm, a need for connection. When parents understand the function of the behavior, they stop taking it personally. The fourth step is deter the behavior. This is prevention. We adjust expectations, teach missing skills, and change the environment so success is possible. And then the final step is encouraging appropriate behavior. Not punishment, but responses that reinforce growth and protect the relationship. So what makes GUIDE different is the order. We regulate the adult first. We understand the behavior next, and only then do we decide how to respond. Because when parents feel calm and clear on the inside, behavior stops being a battle. It becomes information. And that is where the real change begins.
Wow. What an incredible journey you've been on, Melissa. And I just love the fact that you have harnessed everything you've gone through and you're now empowering other parents on how to navigate this space. Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So, when did you realize that stay calm wasn't a strategy, that it was a gap?
It was really kind of that moment when it was like life was just so full I couldn't like power through or muscle through anymore. I had my first business, so I had like 50 employees counting on me. I had 2 kids under the age of 2, and my husband, he's great now, but he was really sick at the time, so I was caring for him and the whole household by myself. And yeah, I was able to kind of power through staying calm by just like shoving my emotions down up until that point. But then it was just like, now they're just all over the place. And it was coming out in a lot of physical health symptoms where I was like, okay, I got to handle this differently.
Now, one of the things that you mentioned was not reacting to the behavior and taking it personally. That's a difficult thing to do. But what advice would you give to a parent who has a child and they are struggling with how to manage the way the kid is behaving?
Yeah. So my guide process that I outlined, that works for every single behavior. So we really start by figuring out what's happening, when is it happening, and why. And the next thing is we regulate ourselves. So now we need to have the parent understand maybe why that behavior is so triggering. It might be the thought that sometimes parents have the thought that my kid's doing it on purpose, right?
Yeah.
Or they're like a bad kid, or they could do better and they're choosing not to. Our brain gives us all sorts of negative thoughts that create very big emotions in our body because they're negative thoughts, but almost all of them are not true. Like, our kids are doing the best they can in that moment. And like, maybe we can be sad that that's their best effort, if they're having a meltdown in the grocery store, but that's the best they got in that moment with their brain development and their skills. And so understanding that it's not anything about you, it's just what they're going through, and helping so it no longer triggers you or brings up a lot of big emotion for you. That's where you can stay calm, because you're just like, oh yeah, yep, we're in a grocery store and that's embarrassing, but also, like, what does he need right now? What's going on? Oh, I think, we did kind of skip nap, or, oh, he's probably getting hungry. Or when you kind of can stop taking it personally and just start being really curious about why, that kind of changes everything. You're going to have much better responses and a better connection with your child.
Now, I remember when my kids were little, realizing that if I pointed out the behavior to them, it would shift and change everything almost in an instant. Just having that awareness that this is how you are being, creates a complete shift. So I had read, I think it was Eckhart Tolle's book, and he was talking about the human pain body and how children will tap into the human pain body, and the behavior is not the child, it's just part of what we do as humans.
Oh, yeah, I have not read that book, but that's a very interesting perspective. I think like the way I think about it a lot is like we're kind of all one nervous system with our kids. So they co-regulate with us. So so if I'm really mad at them, that's sending signals to their body that it's not safe. And then that's going to create more big emotions for them. And so now we're kind of stuck in this trap of we're just escalating each other, versus if me as the adult with the fully developed prefrontal cortex, right? My brain is developed, theirs isn't yet. If I can find the tools to genuinely feel calm and create that calm inside myself, they're going to be able to match that calm. So instead of me rising up to them, now I'm helping them come back and match me.
Yeah, it's interesting. There was a quote I read that said something like, peace begins with me.
Yeah.
So you're right. We're part of the same system in that household. And the calmness starts with you, the mother, the parent, the individual, before it ripples off onto the kids.
Yes.
Now, you've spoken about freezing internally during intense moments. What was happening inside your body and mind when no one taught you how to stay calm?
Yeah. So in those moments, I mean, some of that is like a nervous system response to danger. Also, like in that situation, someone's literally in my face threatening to harm me, we were all fine. But that puts your body into fight or flight. And then if your body doesn't think you can fight your way out of it or flee, then it just kind of shuts down. And it just like is ready for death. So in that moment, it was like a brief freeze of like panic. So I just remember feeling so like this tightness in my chest, breathing really fast, like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And, was able to just kind of figure it out. Not by creating the calm within myself, but kind of, this is what a lot of parents do when we just kind of like white knuckle it. We're like, I'm calm. Like we pretend to be calm while we do the thing. So that was my approach for a while, and it worked in that situation. I was able to, de-escalate the situation, but I still carried all of those emotions, and I definitely could have like solved it much easier by me being regulated in the first place, and maybe could have even prevented that altercation.
Now, before becoming a mother, you spent over a decade in this field.
Mm-hmm.
How did becoming a parent, especially to neurodivergent children, shift everything that you thought you knew?
Yeah, I remember when I started working with families before kids, and they would ask me if I had kids, and I would feel like defensive, like I can still be great even if I don't have my own kids. It's the same, because I did have a lot of professional knowledge, and then when I had kids, I'm like, no, it's definitely not the same. I understand it so much more intimately having gone through it myself. And then especially with having neurodiverse kids and having all those challenges, when my whole career has been supporting neurodiverse families, I mean, it's been amazing for us because we have all the skills and tools already to help support our own kiddos at home. But it just gives me such deeper understanding of exactly what all my clients are going through. I've literally, like, here we have, school meetings called IEP meetings, and I've sat in all the roles. Like I was like running the meetings, and now I'm a parent in the meeting. Like I've been the medical professional helping, doing the intakes for clients to get my services. And now I'm the parent asking the medical. So it's a very unique and I think enlightening perspective for me, because I can just genuinely see the big picture of what everyone's experiencing. And it just helps me be so much more deeply empathetic to what my clients are going through, and gives me a lot more insight to what they actually need. Because a lot of people making these decisions aren't actually raising these kind of kids at the same time. They're just like, I think this will help families, right? Let's try this. And I'm like, no. This is what's missing with that plan. That sounds great on paper, but when you're living the life, you're wiping the butts every day, you can have a different perspective.
Completely different. Now, many women listening to us are carrying guilt, exhaustion, and self-judgment.
Yes.
What do you want them to understand about themselves when they feel like they're failing?
That like weight is so heavy, I think, especially for moms and women. I don't think men have that same societal expectation or carry that same amount when it comes to, especially comes to their kids' behavior. We just carry so much shame and guilt and feel like we're failing. We sometimes will view our kids' behavior as like our report card as a parent. And so our worth is now like tied to their behavior. And if you think about that, then when they're just being a kid, having problems now, like our whole identity is in the tank. Now we feel like it's a personal failure instead of seeing it as your kid just learning and being a human. And so I do so much work with my clients on just like reminding them. So if you're watching this, you are an amazing mom, amazing parent, amazing woman. You're doing the very, very best you can. To be human is to make lots of mistakes. And it's really, the goal is not to not make mistakes. It's to repair when we do make mistakes. But it's also to be curious and notice maybe what's missing if things aren't going the way you thought. So if you are really overwhelmed by your child's behavior, often what most parents will do, they feel so bad about it, they end up yelling and they beat themselves up all night. They stay up all night and they like I'm going to try harder tomorrow. But then the same thing happens, and that just happens over and over, and they get stuck in this terrible rut where everyone feels awful. And so if you're in that rut, you don't have to be there. You just need different tools. You're a good mom. Your kid's really good. You're just missing some tools to help teach your child in a different way. And you can go out and get those tools. I would love to help you. There's so many ways where you can change that situation. You're not failing. You just need a little bit more support.
Yeah. Now, you grew a company from your living room to 75 employees.
Mm-hmm.
What did that season of growth teach you about leadership, pressure, and boundaries as a woman, and especially as a mom?
Yeah. Yeah. I started that company. That was my first business. It was kind of by accident. It was like a side business that I was
Mm,
really excited about, but I had no intention of doing it full time for like a long time. And
mm,
then life kind of gave me the chance to either like give it up completely or do it full time. And I chose to go into it full time. But like my degrees, my background was not business. It was all like help, psychology and counseling and helping people. And so I learned very quickly that I had a lot to learn about leadership. And so for me, it was just realizing how much I need to invest in myself to help this company grow. Because whatever we're leading, we are the ceiling, whether it's our family, whether it's our business. My level of growth and development is none of my employees, my business, my kids aren't going to be able to beat that level, that ceiling. And so I never want to be the limiting factor for anything important. So I realized how much I had to grow and how intentional I had to be about my own development and growth in order to help everyone else grow and like accomplish the mission.
I love it. Now, your work centers on being non-judgmental and deeply inclusive. Why
Yes.
are those values so essential, especially for mothers navigating behavioral challenges?
Yeah, there's just so much judgment out there in the world in general for women. And then, especially if your kid isn't acting the way people think that your child should be acting. And
Yeah.
so I do think even people be like, oh, a parenting coach, like she's gonna judge me and tell me I'm bad. And so my perspective, I've worked in the worst of the worst environments. I've seen all the behaviors, like extreme cases. And so I'm like, there's nothing that's happening in your house that I have not seen before, and probably a million times worse. And I
Mm,
just get it. Like, I just genuinely believe we're all doing our best. Judgment does not help anyone. That when people need help, they don't need someone to judge them. They want help. So my job is to just scoop them up and remind them of how wonderful they are and remind them of that they can do it. They have it in them. They just need the right support and then let them fly. But I am not perfect either. I mess up all the time. I'm also a human, so I have no place to judge from.
Now, you created this five-step framework to addressing challenging behavior. Why is it so important to start with the parent's emotional response rather than the child's behavior?
Yeah, that's like the main question I get is like, what do I do when my kid blank? What do I do when they hit me, when they won't listen, when they won't, when they're
Mm,
fighting with their sibling? And so it's like very annoying that my response is always like, hold on, like we got to take a step back. But the truth is, if my kid's not listening and I'm approaching my kid and I'm feeling really angry and I'm really escalated or I'm not regulated, right? That's just a conflict waiting to happen.
yeah.
Now I'm not being intentional or able to respond. I'm not in tune with what they actually need in that moment. I'm just very caught up in my own emotion. So my
Mm,
child's not going to learn anything. It's probably going to turn into a power struggle and probably just hurt our connection. So
yeah.
before we can do anything, we need to be regulated. We need to be genuinely calm so we can be attuned to what our child needs in that moment, connect with them, and respond appropriately. And so we can't do that until we are regulated first.
Yeah, it starts with us. You're
Yeah.
so, you're so right.
Yeah.
Now, many parents want quick fixes.
Mhm.
What actually changes when we slow down and look for the root cause instead of reacting to the symptoms?
Yeah, I think like so everyone does want quick fixes and there's definitely this, I watched this reel from this one person and they said try this and I tried it, right? It's like that little dopamine hit of like watching it, but like that doesn't change habits. We're not like insight is very nice, but it's kind of worthless if it just gives you a dopamine hit and that's it. What you
Yeah.
need is like actual habits for your habits to change. So you start doing those new behaviors without thinking about it. And that's what requires a little bit more work. But like that's what you actually want. The little dopamine hit, who cares? Right? What we want is to be able to easily know how to respond to our kid no matter what they're doing, not
Mhm.
have like a hodgepodge of different reels that kind of sounded nice, but now I don't know when I'm supposed to use it or what age or like how do I do it? We have so many more questions. We end up not actually taking any action.
Mhm. That is so true. Oh my gosh. Now, you often say that behavior is communication.
Mhm.
What are children really trying to tell us when we stop seeing behavior as bad?
Yeah, there's a lot of different things they might be trying to tell us. Sometimes it could be like, I need help and I'm overwhelmed. Sometimes it could be like, yeah, I have these really big feelings inside and they're kind of scary. I don't know what to do with them. I don't know how to get it out. It feels uncomfortable. It
Yes.
could be, this is too much. It could be like, I really need some connection time with you. It could be, I really don't want to do this thing. It could be, I don't know how to do this. I don't have the skills to handle this moment. There's so many different things our kids are telling us. And even the same behavior, like a kid just screaming, could have all of those messages for a different kids. And so that's why also, like, it's never like, what do I do when my kid screams? Like, it totally depends. I don't know your kid yet. I don't know why are they screaming? Like, what need are they trying to meet? If I just, Google how to get my kid to stop screaming, it's going to give you a lot of different ideas that will maybe work, but none of them are necessarily addressing why your particular child is having a hard time in that moment. So they're not going to heal or like address that root cause.
Mhm. So what's one common myth about discipline or behavior that you wish we would completely let go of?
I think, okay, just one myth. I think the big one right now is that like we have to discipline them to change their behavior. And that experience has to be like kind of painful and punitive and shameful. And if we
Mhm.
don't do that, if we're too nice or gentle, our kids are going to walk all over us. And that's
Yes.
the reason for all the problems in the world kind of thing. And so that's just not true. Whenever, if you look at discipline as, if you're thinking of it as like a punitive thing where we're trying to make our kid feel bad for what they did, we're trying to make them feel some pain as a result of their behavior, that does not actually work. Your child is not feeling calm or safe or connected to you if you're trying to use that fear or authority. That's making
Yes.
their nervous system go into that shutdown mode. So now they're not learning. They're just learning to shove down their feelings so they
Mm.
appear calm. It's just like,
Mm.
let me look like I'm listening. Let me just
Yeah.
kind of give up with hopelessness and obey. But they're not learning any skills that they need to actually be healthy, happy humans, which is what
Yeah.
all parents say. I want my kids to be happy and successful adults. But then we
Yes.
don't teach them the skills to get that. And so I think that myth is like, you don't have to be harsh or definitely don't add shame, especially if you have a child with more behavior challenges. They
Mhm.
very gentle but firm, clear, consistent boundaries. And you can do that with so much love. Like, I'm so sorry. I know you're so sad that you lost your screen privileges for today. I can be sad with you. I don't have to be mad about it, but I can still hold that boundary.
Yeah, that's so true. So when you work with mothers, what's the most powerful transformation that you've witnessed? And not just for the child, but for the mother herself.
Yeah, the first thing that the moms I work with and dads usually say is they're like very surprised, like because they come to me because they want me to fix their kid, right? And so
Yes.
then they're always like, "Wait, but you told me to change. Like you had me change. Like now I'm different." And so they're like really surprised by that, but like in the best way.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not trying to keep that a secret, but we do just always think our kid's the problem, and we can't actually change any other person. The only thing we can change is ourselves." And so what I do is help moms become that mom that their kids are needing in that moment, which
Yeah.
leads to so much more joy and connection and just, yeah, like that's really what I want. I think what's lost a lot with a lot of the behavior challenges is we just lose joy. We wanted to have these kids, usually so bad, and we dream of having our family someday, and then they're here and we're so stressed out and overwhelmed and frustrated we can't enjoy it, and then they're gone.
Yeah.
And we like
Yeah.
miss that whole middle part that we wanted. And so no matter what your kid's diagnosis is, no matter what the behavior struggles are, my goal is to help you find joy no matter what and just enjoy all the minutes you possibly can. Even the,
Mm.
even the hard ones, there's definitely hard minutes, but how can we have more joy with our family right now?
I love it. Yeah, we were talking earlier before we started recording how my kids grew up so fast.
Mhm.
I feel like I blinked and somebody swallowed my babies. So remembering that they do grow and they grow faster than you think. When you're in the middle of the trenches of parenting, it doesn't feel like that.
Yeah, I heard
But
somewhere once the days are so long, but the years fly by. And that feels so true. Like every day I'm like, oh my gosh, it's still not nap time. It's still not bedtime. But then it's like, wait, how old are you again? Weren't you just 7 like yesterday? You're 12. So, yeah.
yes, I love it. I'm going to end our interview with two last questions that are a bit of a thought experiment. In the first one, I'm going to teleport you back to the younger you, this young woman who went into the world of parenting herself, despite all of her qualifications and degrees. If you could go back and give her 3 nuggets of wisdom, based on what life has taught you up until this point, what 3 nuggets of wisdom would you give?
Whew, that's a good one. The main one that's coming up for me, at least first, is like, you're going to be okay. This is all going to be okay. This is all going to work out. That would be something I repeat to myself now often and would have loved to know. I think the second one that I would tell myself then and now is like, you can do this. You are capable of this. This is not too much. You can handle this. And I think the third one would be just to enjoy the journey. I tend to, a lot of us get focused on the destination and where we're going. And then again, we miss so much joy. So just enjoy every day. Don't wait to enjoy life. Don't wait for things to be different. Just enjoy your life the way it is right now.
I love that third one. It is about the journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we're always looking ahead. I want my kids to grow up.
Mm-hmm.
You don't savor those little moments while they're there. Last question is futuristic. I'm going to teleport you into the future to go and meet the 90-year-old you.
Whew, okay.
She's sitting in a rocking chair, surrounded by her children, her grandchildren, whoever's with you at the end. If you could teleport into the future to meet this wise woman who has led you up to this point, what will you say to her when you finally meet her?
Oh, what will I say to her when I meet her? I'm going to say, you look good. That's probably what I'll start with. But a more meaningful thing to say. I think I'm just so proud of her. I'm so proud of all that this version of me has accomplished. And I know I'm going to be so proud of all that version of her has accomplished. The mom and grandma that she is, what she's accomplished through her work in the world. I already feel really proud of her.
I love it. I do love asking women that question because the wise woman is already in us, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's that quiet voice that guides us and says, go left, go right, say yes, say no. But we need to trust ourselves more as mothers and as women. So is there anything else I should have asked you and I didn't, Melissa?
No, I think you covered it.
Fantastic. I did a good job.
Yeah.
It was an absolute honor having you on the show, sharing you with our community. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Absolute pleasure. And thank you to everybody who tuned in today. The Her Story Circle is not just a podcast. We're a social impact movement that brings you the stories and voices of women from all over the world. We share these stories to uplift you, to inspire you, to energize you, but most importantly, to help take you from where you are now to where you're trying to go. So if you are a woman, a man who has a family and you're going through the challenge of parenting, here's an expert who can guide and help you. You don't have to do it alone. Melissa is online. I've had her website scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Please reach out and get the help that you need. Or if you know someone who is struggling, a lot of people struggle in silence, share this podcast with them, tag them, make them aware that there are people out there that can help and guide them too. So I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody, with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And Melissa, thank you again for this incredible interview.
Thank you so much.
Bye for now, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.